Hi, I'm C. Courtney Joyner, novelist, screenwriter, and Franco Nero fan numero uno. And I'm here with...
Henry Park. Hi, I'm Henry Park, screenwriter, film editor for True West magazine, and I write Henry's Western Roundup, the online report on Western film production.
And we're here to talk about Texas Adios. And of course, we're right in the middle of action, even as we start.
Yeah, they don't waste any time coming into this. And in fact, it's a very interesting action sequence because you see a whole lot happening, but you don't know what it all means for a long time because you don't know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, who to root for.
Well, one of the things here, Henry, with this I noticed right away is this movie was made in 1966. And it was, of course, Franco Nero's third Western in a row after Django and Massacre Time. But this use of a title sequence for action is actually quite unusual for this time. We certainly title sequences to introduce characters. I'm thinking about The Professionals, probably, of course, later The Wild Bunch. I mean, but it was always to ease us into who the characters are as we ran credits, we're not immediately thrust into a shootout, even as the credits are rolling and everybody is popping off rounds at each other.
That's right. It was much more standard to be seeing maybe a little action and then a lengthy animated graphic-filled title sequence. It was,
certainly for Eurowest, certainly for the Leones and everything else. Of course, even in the Once Upon a Time in the West is one of the greatest intro title sequences of all time.
Oh, yes.
But the Charles Bronson shooting Woody Strode and Jack Elam and company happens after the Sergio Leone credits. So we're right in the middle of all of this. There we are with our set designers. And so this is an unusual approach, and I love the way this is cut with the freeze frames. Is beautifully done.
It is. It certainly tells you they're not throwing dummies over walls, that these are real guys doing some very tough stuff.
And Enzo Barboni, of course, is E.B. Clutcher, the director behind the Trinity movies, and he was a tremendously good DP and always had great, I think, influence and impact on any of the films that he photographed.
Yes. Always loved his work on Five Man Army.
Five Man Army is just terrific, of course, written by Dario Argento. And this movie, even just from this outset, this town was newly constructed in Alameda, and beautiful set. In fact, the film is filled with some really wonderful backgrounds and set pieces. Ironically, of course, the claims, as we know, from Franco Nero and our wonderful Fernando Baldi, is that this is the most American of Euro-Western, something that I know we're going to be debating because... as you and I have said, it's American if you're thinking of Via rides and 100 rifles. I don't know that this really...
not exactly Stagecoach.
Hardly, or High Noon.
Right.
And this was something, Henry, you and I had talked about and this what makes this different right from the outset, is Franco Nero actually plays a lawman. He does not play a laconic stranger who wanders into town, which is, of course, the typical, so especially after Fistful of Dollars, and finds himself caught up, a la Red Harvest and Yojimbo, into some sort of land problem or gold mine problem or cattle rustling problem. It's very rare to see cattle in these movies, but it was always the hero or our main character was thrust into a situation and then acts on it, usually by slaughtering everybody in sight. And very often the lawman was just an incompetent oaf.
Right. Somebody to give the hero a chance to look better than, essentially.
Absolutely, yes. And also usually not just an oaf, but also a corrupt oaf.
Oh, yes. And now that the whole town comes to life,
The town comes to life.
with it, as does the musical score.
Yes. And this is really nicely done with the stagecoach coming in from the right-hand side. And
Right to left. That's very European.
yes, it is. And again, we're seeing, I think, this influence of Barboni. Now here, you and I had discussed this sense of the music. Here, this sounds like Stagecoach. This sounds like the score for an American Western, and not a modern American Western. This jumps back to the 1930s or 40s. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is a very American bit.
Yes.
This whole sort of he's in too much of a hurry to worry about the girl kind of thing.
Yes. Now, this could be something lifted from some Andy McLaughlin might have directed in 1962.
Oh, yes.
And with Chris Mitchum or somebody rolling around in the weeds. And here we go. Now, this young actor, who is also known, of course, as our favorite, Robert Widmark.
Right.
And
Here he's Cole Kitash,
yes,
and he's really Alberto del Acqua.
Alberto del Acqua. I believe he had a background in acrobatics.
Oh, did you see how he leaped onto the
Yes.
horse, if there's any question of that?
Now, that leap on the horse, which is wonderful, isn't that very much like something you would expect to see Roy Rogers do?
Very much so, yes.
Yes, or the Cisco Kid. And so that was kind of something that I thought we should really discuss, especially in the context of watching this movie, and the intent of Franco Nero and everyone who was making the movie is when we see these films, sometimes we forget, I think, that the filmmakers are cinema people. They are movie buffs.
Yes.
And it's not just that they're influenced by American Westerns, it's that they have intense knowledge of American Westerns. And their reference points, even though they are strained through the European lens, their reference points are still American movies. So we see something like The Leap on the Horse. We hear that bit of music with the stagecoach, and we know where they're drawing from. And sometimes we kind of forget that these guys all went to the movies and were completely infatuated with what they saw, which were movies directed by John Ford and Howard Hawks and Henry Hathaway and everybody else. Yep.
And, it is funny because the more you think of it in those terms, the more you get the point of why he considers it such an American movie, down to that just John Ford shot through the window there.
Absolutely. And look what he's looking at. He's looking at folk dancing.
Yes.
And dance very often in Euro Westerns tends to be some sort of a seduction number or something, or it's very often too, usually in the context of a gypsy camp.
Oh, yes.
Which has a lot to do with the fact that they were shooting in Spain,
And they had dancers who were good at that.
they had dancers who were good, and also the casting meant that they were casting people from locals and what have you, so they were kind of keeping everything indigenous. This is a very nice sequence. And when we talk about the influence of American Westerns, Henry, what I'm seeing here is this very much reminds me of the climax of Winchester 73.
Very much. And there are certainly plot elements throughout this. I mean, it is not in any way a remake, but there are a lot of echoes of Winchester 73 in here.
I think so. And I think that Anthony Mann would be another director who they were very influenced by.
Yes.
Now, of course, here, one thing in Euro Westerns, they took the never running out of ammo to the extreme.
Of course, that's a throwback to Hopalong Cassidy.
Oh, yes, yes. The pistol with 100 bullets in it.
One need never reload.
This is a very
Although, wait,
well
he's
directed
reloading.
scene. Yes, he is.
All right.
Oh, my gosh. I've just been kerflumped by Franco Nero and Fernando Baldi. This is a very well-directed scene.
Yes, indeed. Doing that with them both in the shot is very tricky stuff.
And I think also Clutcher, as the director of photography, and Baldi, of course, Our director really is probably best known for his 3D work for Coming At Ya and Treasure of the Four Crowns, and he had a very long association with Tony Anthony.
That's right. Did 4 pictures with him.
Yes, he did. And before, of course, also he was behind Django, Prepare a Coffin with Terence Hill. And we should note that because of Franco Nero's starring in this film, it was marketed in many territories as Django 2.
I didn't know that, but it comes as no surprise. Anything that they could put the name Django on,
well, of course,
they did, and especially with Franco.
Oh, absolutely. And, of course, this was almost released so quickly on the heels of Django with Massacre time in between. And one of the things that always is rather delightful in watching this movie is thinking, during all of this, Warner Brothers is trying to get him out of Spain and to Hollywood to start shooting Camelot with Joshua Logan.
Who keeps telling him, Franco, don't do any more of your own stunts.
That's right. He was very, very worried that he would show up as
in a cast.
In a cast or with a broken nose or broken face, but he's very handsome and just fine in Camelot.
And he's very handsome in this too, but the thing I find so interesting in the way he is shot is his eyes are as much, look at his eyes right there. You can't even tell they're blue.
No.
And that is, of course, his trademark as much as it was for, Paul Newman or Robert Redford or Elizabeth Taylor's violet eyes. And it's very interesting, the restraint shown here with the eyes until I don't think we really get a good look at his eyes until it's time for flashbacks much later on.
I think the use of flashbacks, and when we get to that moment, is something that, of course, became a bit of a trademark in Euro Westerns. In fact, was used many, many, many times, and of course, very prominently and probably most successfully, if people would have the memory, I would say, of in For a Few Dollars More.
Yes.
And certainly here we're talking about childhood trauma, and this is going to affect everything. This is why the revenge, this is why this journey and this mission, and that, of course, is Charles Bronson in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Right. Those wonderful widescreen close-ups of the eyes.
That's right. And so the use of flashbacks, as we get to it, is here actually rather spare.
Very spare.
As opposed to, say, another Franco Nero movie, Castellari's Chioma, which is peppered with flashbacks.
Oh, yes. It's a huge part of the structure of the story.
And I think that perhaps also the American influence, if you will, here of holding back on flashbacks, which traditionally also was not really a part of American Westerns, even though later on, of course, The Wild Bunch, in which many of the flashbacks, of course, were cut after the initial release of the movie.
Right. People fear that Americans would find them too confusing.
Too confusing. And there it was just to clarify the relationship between Robert Ryan and William Holden, and rather than anything that really is a motivating factor for what they were going to be doing, and including, of course, that fantastic shot of Robert Ryan being whipped in Yuma prison.
Oh, yes.
This is, again, this was a new set, beautifully constructed, just absolutely gorgeous. And it goes to how much production was going on in Spain at this time. Everything was just exploding. And, Henry, you and I have done this many, many times. Of course, when you look at the casts of these movies, how many of the cast members of Euro Westerns were in Dr. Zhivago and all these other giant movies that were also being made in Spain, and some people don't even realize they were Spanish productions.
Oh, yes, and Battle of the Bulge, and so many that were being done, and as you say, a lot of the same casts.
Absolutely. Aldo Sambrel and so many of these wonderful actors. Now, this is the moment when, of course, they have crossed into Mexico. Franco Nero is going to try and exact the revenge for the death of his father,
Right.
take his little brother along. And the idea is that the world that they have crossed into now is significantly different than the Texas they just left.
Yes.
I don't think it really is that different as far as where it's all those beautiful Spanish vistas to me.
Physically, it's exactly the same. It's just across the Rio Grande, but of course it is so different in terms of the political structure of where they are.
Oh yes,
And that's something I've always found so interesting is that when in a Spanish Italian Western, when they're showing Mexico, what they're really showing is fascism in Europe.
yes, and that of course that comes up here, very much so. But for the story, in fact, here's a great example of it.
A perfect one, yes.
And but for the story's sake, the idea that they have left the United States and now they're in kind of the wilds of Mexico and everything. Well, no, not really. They just look like they went around the corner.
Okay.
This is a wonderful sequence and extremely stylized.
Oh, yes.
And Livio Lorenzon, who, of course, specialized in characters like this. And he's...
Yes.
He's in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Right. And had a wonderful time in all of them, you can tell.
Oh, yes.
Torturing and murdering people.
And he's particularly good in Eurocrime film Crime Story.
Uh-huh.
And he could really play this stuff up. And every time he pops that cork, someone's going to get shot. It's also, I think, noteworthy when you talk about the difference between American Westerns, even now, even in 1966, and what we're seeing here. This movie is bloodless.
That's true. For so many people dying, you don't see a drop of blood that I can recall.
Now, there's a little bit at the very end, but this is not even the Magnificent Seven had more on-screen gore than this film does.
True.
And I've always wondered, was that a stylish choice, or was this something maybe they were worried about the rating system when it came out, or even censorship in Spain when they made it?
Right. That's a good question. Of course, we know that like some American rules are simply unaware of, so that you will have in Euro Westerns people firing a gun and the bullet hitting in the same shot, which for some reason was forbidden as just too violent in the United States. So you would always cut from someone firing to someone being hit. So that suggests to me, and I'm just guessing here, that it wasn't so much a matter of rules as they were following the way things were done in the United States, since that's where the Westerns started.
But of course, what that was kind of what I was saying, that at this point, certainly violence in Westerns was getting a lot rougher.
Oh, yes.
And so this is interesting that they decided to, no blood packs, no bullet hits. Mm-hmm. Of course, they weren't that entirely common yet,
right.
But still, at least on people, they were. So this was an interesting choice. Maybe it's just literally because the body count is so high that
it would become very complex.
Yeah,
to do
it would look like a slaughterhouse.
Right. Now, the barmaid, Paquita, is a very small part, but very nice in it, Silvana Bacci. And she had really already become a fixture in these. She was playing saloon girls and prostitutes and the like, and Django and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Big Gun Down, The Stranger Returns.
And she's in Barbarella.
She is. I didn't know that.
Absolutely. And now she has an interesting scene coming up that, but it also points to the really the lack of female presence in this film.
Yes.
There's not a big romantic interest for Franco Nero. As in Django, I mean, he sets himself up in a saloon, and the whole place is filled with the prostitutes and all that. No, nothing like that here.
Right.
Yeah, brother's kind of a jerk, actually.
Oh yeah.
Here.
Yeah. There is a tendency to say, "Yes, glad you kicked him."
Now this scene gets very interesting very quickly because it's kind of like, well, where are our sympathies really supposed to go? And Franco Nero himself is kind of stepping back, thinking his little brother needs to be taught a lesson, which he definitely is going to be. But then this takes on a whole nother problem. This also, of course, coming up is the scene that I believe caused Warner Brothers some concern because Franco Nero had decided that he was going to do all of his own fight scenes.
Right.
And they didn't want someone pulling up short with a punch and breaking his nose and what have you. And this is a pretty rough fight.
It is. Most of the fights in this are surprisingly rough. And of course, Franco did not like people standing in for him, and he didn't like fighting with other actors.
No.
Always wanted to do these scenes with stuntmen playing the other parts.
That's right, because, of course, he had been clipped by actors when they didn't quite know what they were doing, and sometimes that does happen. And but he was very sure of himself. This is, I love this. Reminds me of Lee Marvin in The Big Heat.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now, here we go.
And it's nice because it isn't prettily choreographed. There's a sort of clumsiness to the way he hits him with the table and all that really looks like a guy got hit with what was in reach.
But also, isn't this kind of I would say almost the Franco Nero's version of the brawl in the Spoilers?
Yes.
Except they didn't
Except for
gun
that.
down
Everyone
six
else in the
guys.
room.
Yes, everybody else in the saloon. Well, John Wayne and Randolph Scott. Oh, I love that.
Yes, that is a wonderful shot.
So this
or
is,
stab.
Yes. So yeah, a little bit of a difference there. Yes, most fight scenes are broken up with dialogue. You know, have you had enough of that type of thing? And here it's broken up with 5 killings. While they then go back to punching each other in the face.
But, as you say, it is bloodless. There's still, if anyone had gotten that kind of beating, there would be a lot of blood visible at this point.
And also, I think our friends who took bullets to the guts over there, perhaps a slug or two would have passed through their tequila-swelled bellies. But no, we're not going there. What I love about this scene is, well, have you had enough? All right, so
Yes.
Don't mess with me or my family. In the meantime, you've got 5 dead guys
Yes.
lying there among the broken furniture, and no one seems too concerned about that.
No, this was a personal matter. Those were just people on the outside.
Exactly. I need to get my priorities straight.
Absolutely. Oh, and I love what happens as they leave.
Oh, this is a great moment.
You can see she is the woman, and women care about what happens to other people in a way that men don't. Look, she's going to help herself.
Yes. Well, she's been through a great deal and has a very cynical view of life. That's
And she's got a big cleanup job to do.
Yes.
And so does he.
Yeah, but this really would be a great town to live in. You seem to pretty much have impunity to do anything you want to do. Right. Just stand around and eat your
Indian bread.
And just have a wonderful afternoon. Mm-hmm. And now, because of, again, Nero's always going to have kind of this stoic image and his delivery and everything else. But unfortunately, this is, again, one of those movies where the dubbing, in this case, they've given him kind of a bit of a southern accent that tends to ebb and flow.
Yes, it is inconsistent.
It is. And that isn't really that surprising, only because so many of these movies were made so quickly and just one right on top of the other that they were just literally going through the studio. Sometimes you had someone like Mickey Knox to direct the dubbing sessions.
When you were lucky.
When you were lucky, exactly. Other times it was just let's get it through, and they would have these groups of actors who would step in and do these, and sometimes they would do 2 movies in a day, 2 or 3. And it was that just goes to, again, point out how much production was happening across Spain and Italy. Of course, Italy was where the money was coming from, Italy and Germany, to fill the need in this international market.
Right, and the size of the international market was tremendous because Italy, like so many of these countries, did not have widespread television.
No,
in the
everybody
60s
went to
and
the
70s.
movies.
That's right, several times a week. So movies were a huge social thing, and they needed many more of them than we need now. I love this. If you want an effete character, have him serve creme de menthe to people that are coming in off the range.
Absolutely. Or coming in from a saloon slaughter.
Right. No.
Of course, the screenplay here, in falling back, as you said, into the revenge structure, the journey structure, which seems very American. Franco Rossetti, probably his most known credit really would be Zabriskie Point for Antonioni.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie, of course, was showing the power of international filmmakers at that point. They had risen to such a area of power within the major studios. And certainly, of course, he was a very famous guy because of Blow Up and all of that stuff. So these movies that are now being re-examined really are the foundation for this just almost nuclear coming of all of this international talent that finally reached our shores, really starting in the mid-'60s and just completely blowing up by 1968-69.
Right. No, the degree of influence is tremendous. By the way, I love the fact that there's 2 gold nuggets. What do you suppose that stands for that is lacking with this guy?
Yes, I would agree. I think there's a little bit of symbolism there. And also the use here of the brother. This is a slightly different than what you would normally see, I think, in a lot of Euro-Westerns, where very often it would be a young hotshot gunfighter or a wannabe gunfighter trailing after Lee Van Cleef or someone like that and looking for a mentor. And it was not a blood relative usually. Right. But this really is this saga of the 2 of them, which is also different than what you normally get with Franco Nero, who's usually just the lone stranger.
That's right. Yeah, he usually doesn't have anyone that hangs on to him for very long.
No, and the brother, they are a team. They are absolutely paired together. It's I would say, complex relationship rather than saying it might not be fully logically formed.
Right. But it is certainly an unusual one for these kinds of things. And it is interesting, his look, Kolkatash's look is so much like in the American films the way one of the Mitchum boys would look.
Oh, Chris Mitchum, I think, is absolutely his mirror.
Right.
And I know that I'm sure that was also intentional.
Yes.
Chris Mitchum at the time was hitting things quite well internationally because of his work with John Wayne,
Right.
and he was just now being really introduced to international audiences. And this is, but also too, look who had 1966. They wanted someone who looked like Steve McQueen. They wanted
Yeah, good-looking blonde guys.
good-looking blonde guys, right? And but the Americanization into Robert Widmark, I don't know, was exactly the greatest marketing tool they could have come up with. Here, of course, is to me that, if you will, Fistful of Dollars, Red Harvest moment where let's try and draw somebody in to our cause.
Right. Yeah, the moment at which it is no longer just their own thing. Although, of course, the interesting thing is usually when that happens, somebody is just in it for the money and then gets seduced by honor. And in this case, he's already doing this for honor, but just for himself and his brother, and now it's become a broader thing. That's a very nicely shot.
This is a beautifully composed sequence, and I think, as we were saying, the impact of, if you will, John Ford, the idea of the placement of characters. Certainly, Leone always credited Ford for his ability with the composition and what he wanted to do. And this is, and of course, the impact of Leone was very, very evident and being felt. But we have to also put this movie in context. All that stuff was kind of going on simultaneously. So it wasn't a retroactive looking back at something and drawing from it. Because, of course, this movie was shot at the same time as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So that was not something that these guys had even seen yet.
Right. No, I don't think that. I think that really this is surprisingly uninfluenced by Leone and Corbucci and all the films that would eventually become the blueprint for how Euro Westerns looked. I think the similarities probably come from the fact that all of these filmmakers saw the same films.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think that that's, so you said that's something that is very often overlooked. Because everybody always concentrates on as if they only saw their own work or they're only influenced by other Italian filmmakers and other European filmmakers. And of course, none of that is true.
Right. And of course, Baldi, Baldi is unusual in a number of ways and probably saw this influence longer than the others because he was a bit older than most of the guys who were directing this. He started directing in '53, doing lots of peplum films and things. But, of course, he had seen a lot. He was was probably under a longer influence on from American Westerns. And he was also unusual because he was both a writer and a director. And that really, in a genre where most of these were written often by many writers, where you'd have 7 or 8 writers on a script. The idea of both writing and directing your own stuff, even co-writing it, was really quite unusual.
Well, we were seeing also, too, I think his choice of using Barboni as his DP, who really was the guy everybody probably wanted to use. And we saw that beautiful split diopter shot. And this, here, this is very well directed. Again, we're going very wide, and then we come back. And it's, and this sense of composition. And notice, too, in these scenes, we do not get the economic return within these sequences of the same shots. They really do go for different setups.
Yes.
Maybe 1 or 2, and then they move the camera again. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And of course, these movies were not made for a great deal of money. So I think that also really points to organization by Baldi and also by Barboni. And of course, they were only shooting with guide tracks for sync sound, so they were not burdened with that.
Right. They didn't have to worry about boom mics getting in the way.
No.
Or constant resetting for audio problems.
But when we talk about the history of some of these filmmakers, of course, Enzo Barboni had worked for William Wyler and was a second unit cameraman on Roman Holiday. Huh. And so, and of course, also, too, a very good movie that he was involved with, Grand Canyon Massacre, which is Sergio Corbucci and Albert Band. Mm-hmm. Of course, Albert later, Minute to Pray, A Second to Die, and The Hellbenders, and all those terrific movies. So this community of these filmmakers, everybody they all knew each other. They were all kind of making movies together. And there was, I think, a core group, of course, Leone at the very top, and Corbucci probably just snugging under him, of creative individuals who were churning out these films. And Leone was in a different spot because his films had just exploded successfully, while everybody else was kind of playing catch up, and they were basically making product because this was what was popular.
Right. When this was being shot, Django had just finished filming, so this was not out yet. So Corbucci had not landed the way he would.
And two, also, when we start talking about these directors, whether it's, of course, Franco Nero's frequent collaborator, Enzo Castellari, Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento, of course, screenwriting many of these films. When the Westerns ran their course, they made horror movies.
That's right.
And they were making giallos. That's Franco Nero, The Fifth Chord, and these other, which was also produced by the producer of this film, who also did a very, very good movie I've always really enjoyed with Roger Moore and Stacy Keach called Street People. That is a very tough Eurocrime film. So this was what was needed and what was expected. And when the Westerns ran their course, they went off and made other movies.
That's right. It was a job, and they were good at all genres.
Because they had to be.
Right. Yeah, you didn't last if you weren't. Begin the show. That's kind of cruel.
Yes.
But very apropos. And of course, here is finally the guy everyone's been looking for, Cisco Delgado, played by Jose Suarez.
He has always had, especially in this film with the gray hair, is very much this kind of Robert Ryan attitude in the way he's doing this. And the casual death. Yes, the American influence kind of ended with this scene, and probably also the Cantina brawl. But this was the way that bad guys in Westerns were always, especially the big landowners, were always going to sit back and watch some sadistic action going on, smile appropriately at their men executing their vicious orders.
It was so different from the American Westerns where the ranchers were always guys who I came out here with 4 cows and a gun. And worked their way up. There were never these effete characters who had obviously never worked a day in their life and had inherited everything.
Well, of course, his own background within the story, I think, is probably a little closer to what you've just described.
That's true.
But it is also, as you said, a reflection of a political bent.
In Europe, not
in
Mexico.
Absolutely. That this was, if it was the big money, it was evil, and that was just the way it was. And this again, let's sidle over and take care of business myself, just for the sheer sadistic satisfaction of it. And of course, now Jose Suarez actually worked for Don Siegel.
Oh, and what?
And one of the great Don Siegel forgotten movie, in fact, film he said he wished he could forget, A Spanish Affair with Richard Kiley.
Ooh,
Yes.
está bien.
That was, yes, not a highlight on Don's resume, but he did say he had a lovely time making the movie, but forget about the film itself. And,
There's a little blood.
yes,
So
very,
very little
low.
you see.
Yes. But just an injury rather than a gunshot. And now he's probably a little bit hungry and needs to go have some lunch.
Yeah, he's had a rough morning.
Absolutely.
He's had to get out of his chair to kill people and everything.
Right at the same time that Suarez made this film, immediately after this, he made Bullet for Sandoval with Ernest Borgnine.
Right.
And
Which was that Borgnine's only Euro-Western?
yes. Well, some people would kind of edge into the Revengers as being a Euro-Western because of his production background and everything else. But a true Euro-Western, that was it.
Now, speaking of Euro-Westerns, as obviously we're going to be doing a lot, I was just thinking about the score. The prolific Anton Garcia Abril did the score, which is very nice, very varied, and I understand he holds the distinction of scoring the very first spaghetti western, 1962's The Savage Guns.
Yes. Now, that was The Savage Guns. Is that the Michael Carreras movie?
Yes, it is.
Yes. With Richard Basehart, correct?
Exactly.
How about
yeah.
that? No IMDb in front of me.
Outstanding.
Yes, there we go.
The man is an encyclopedia of cinema.
And, of course, we had our wonderful warbling of the title song by Don Powell.
Yes.
Yes. And
I always love songs that are written in English to be heard by people who don't speak English,
yes.
because there are sometimes quite delightful, and it is a wonderful theme, and yet it's full of phrases that just, if English is your native language, you would not have written.
Yes, I agree. And they always get kind of this great romantic bent to them when he's saying things like, oh, revenge is in my blood, et cetera, et cetera.
Texas, goodbye, you made me cry.
That's it.
Yeah, what westerns do people talk about crying in the theme? Oh, here's our poor saloon girl.
Now, this sequence, going back to our sense of the American Western, we're going to see a visual coming up here that I really do believe is a direct reference to director Bud Boetticher. And this is also quite a little moment. Now, I love the pinpoint lights on the eyes.
Uh-huh.
And so here we have all of these. See, that to me is Buchanan Rides Alone. That is
Yes, you put Randolph Scott next to that
and
tree.
L.Q. Jones, and that's it. That is, and I'm sure that was in their mind when they staged this.
Yes.
And this is a great moment because it's like, let's add insult to it. They've killed this poor girl, and we're just going to disrespect her to the nth degree and disrespect Franco Nero, which is a little bit of a problem if you want to live till supper time. And
So
there we go.
that is the nice touch, isn't it?
Yes.
3 in a hole.
3 in a hole. And very white teeth.
Yes.
Okay.
I see.
How many guys did we get there?
Looks like 6.
6 or 7.
Non ti sembra strano? Cosa? Quando sono arrivati non hanno tentato nemmeno di farci...
And and I think that, and of course, this is a very telling moment, though you wouldn't think so. And it's very interesting that the kid who is the the beginner at all of this stuff, the inexperienced, is the one that is troubled by the ease of doing that, not
Oh, yes.
Franco. I think it was a very nice gesture to give that part to the kid to make him seem smarter than he would have otherwise.
Well, also, too, but we have that wonderful moment where it's like, so that's your first. And he's all upset, and it's Franco's 800th guy he's killed that afternoon.
And by the way, is this a nod to the Magnificent Seven? Does this guy look exactly like the old man that they go to?
Yes. And of course, too, as we remember, of course, this from Frank O'Rourke's wonderful novel, Mule for the Marchesa, but the entree for the professionals into the bandit stronghold is the goat herder.
Oh, that's right.
So this is, again, I think this scene is, I believe, really trying to, again, establish, if you will, the tropes of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So at least the audience has something to hang on to where we can really think in terms of Mexico and basic Mexico and not Spain.
Right. And not the United States within
Yes.
the plot. That this is not an American scene.
No.
And this is a very interesting plot element, the way we see our guys set up so that they can, in fact, go and track down Cisco Delgado.
Which is the journey part of this movie. It isn't always, if you will, a straight shot within the plot of Euro Westerns. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. We kind of get sidetracked into this mission and sidetracked into this other thing, and then we come back. The desire to get to Cisco Delgado is Franco Nero. It's his characters. This is truly his whole focus. And so this movie actually has a bit of I think, a stronger spine than, a lot of just kind of the throwaway Euro Westerns.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's guys on a mission, and they never lose sight of the mission.
And in many instances, they act in an amoral way because their mission is everything.
Right. So they won't help that town of Mexican people.
No, they step over a lot of corpses to get to what they want to do.
Right.
And there's this is the presence of the women. Finally, there is a little bit here. And the beautiful Elsa Montes, who actually has rather star billing in this movie.
Yes, she does. And of course, she had done quite a few Westerns before this. Django the Condemned with George Montgomery, Mutiny at Fort Sharp with Rod Crawford, $7 on the Red with Anthony Stefan, and one of our heroes, Fernando Sancho.
She's in Return of the Seven for Burt Kennedy.
That's right.
And
Captain Apache with Lee Van Cleef.
And God will always forgive her for that, although I don't think I'll ever forgive Lee Van Cleef for it. Of course, one of my personal favorites, Jess Franco's 99 Women, which is one of the great women in prison films with Herbert Lom. But it also, the fact that the character now appears this late in the story, also it just points to where they really thought that any female characters would work within the context of this story. Were they shoehorned in or not? I think the death of the saloon girl actually is, to me, a real impactful moment, even though we don't know that character.
Right.
But it's tough to gauge because there is almost zero emotional connection between any of these young women and our central characters.
Right.
They're trying to kind of stir the romantic pot a little bit, but they're not focal point characters.
Right. It's funny, I'm trying to think of who was the actress in the Oxbow incident that more or less rides through on a horse and says hi and keeps going. Because it was all men.
Yes, I
Linda
know.
Darnell, is it?
Was it Linda Darnell? I'm trying to remember. No, because the woman in the Oxbow incident is Jane
Jane
Darwell.
Darwell.
That's
Yes.
yes.
But
Nelson
she was
wants
not
to
the
know Jane
romantic.
Darwell. That's for sure.
Yes.
Can't really see her as Ma Jode.
So he's finally going to get to meet Cisco.
He's going to get to meet Cisco, and suddenly we're going to be taken onto a very interesting story twist. And this also is a little unusual, I think, for Euro Westerns at this time, because it was always, if you're going to meet the bad guy, you knew he was the bad guy, and you're kind of waiting for the big climax and all of those things. But other than the fact that I'm good, you're evil, that was about as far as it went. Even if you spent time with the baddie, as we do in Once Upon a Time in the West and other films, and for a few dollars more, of course, which this does have a very interesting connection to coming up very shortly.
Yes.
And I love the fact he's playing the organ. So this is also a very gothic moment. It's kind of like meeting, I don't know, I would say the Phantom of the Opera, but I think it's more like meeting Boris Karloff in The Black Cat.
That's very true, and it's also fun that he comes into the scene and you just think it's soundtrack music, and then the camera reverses and you see, no, this is music he is hearing, not just us. That it's actually this villain playing it.
Well, it's also a wonderful way to show how casual and uncaring he is, because he
Yes.
knows Franco Nero is there.
And there are those eyes.
There are the blue eyes. And now we actually begin to see the childhood trauma, and here is the flashback. And it is one of several. Now, the way this is done, though, is this really is now we are now given this information so we understand Franco Nero and his passion and everything else, but we're not seeing the entire moment there.
Right.
And we will return to it.
We don't know what it means, except, of course, we do know who did the shooting there.
Yes.
And we can guess who was shot.
And when you talk about the childhood trauma flashback, which, again, it was very much A Minute to Pray, Second to Die, Day of Anger, Great Silence, of course, and flashback structure for a few dollars more, absolutely. And of course, we're going to see even more of a connection to that in just a few moments. But the American Western, to me, was the one with the trauma that dogged its primary character, was Raoul Walsh's Pursued. There it is, 1949, 48, 49. And he has those memories of the dancing feet, remember? And this is kind of this thing that is driving him and is torturing him. And that was very, very unusual to see that in a Western at that time.
Yes, they did not get psychological.
Absolutely not. And the thing is, even if they did, if they wanted to skid into that like they do in Rawhide or Yellow Sky or other films made during that period, they didn't do it visually. Usually it was dialogue. It was something, well, you know.
When I was a kid.
When I was a kid. Example, The Bravados, Gregory Peck. Now, he is on a journey to get these guys who, killed his family. Of course, he's unaware that the guys he's chasing are the wrong guys.
Right.
But that's his single-minded purpose and what have you. So, but the visual of it was just not something, as you would go into your theater in Rome or wherever it was they were going to go and see a movie with Robert Mitchum, that they would expect this. So I always, that was kind of the thing, is it just hit me like a thunderbolt that there was this film that I think had a tremendous impact on these filmmakers, of course, from a major director with a major star, written by Niven Bush, and Robert Mitchum tortured by Dame Judith Anderson. I mean, good Lord, that's what in the world, how much more unusual for that time period could you get?
Oh, yes. It's just Stunning.
So we'll see if that supposition actually rings true or not. And of course, by the way, Jose Suarez also was in quite a few Spanish horror films, including Vampire's Night Orgy, which is a favorite for Leon Klimovsky, who was the director behind quite a few of Paul Naschy's horror films.
Right. And also, didn't he do some good westerns as well?
Yes, he did.
Oh, and here comes the rest of the flashback.
And here comes the rest of it. So it's interesting that they split it up. So we've seen this homicide, but now we see the second part of the trauma. And there's Mom. And is she laughing? Is she crying?
I think she's distraught.
But seems to be smiling, so I don't know. Mom seemed to be a pretty wild character there, and that's torturing Franco as well.
Right. Now, I find this something that can be really interpreted a couple of ways, and I am not clear on how they mean it. Okay, he's the father of the brother. We know that now.
Yes.
But, so he shoots the father, he runs into the house, he comes out, grabs the money, and he and his friends ride off, and she comes out distraught, disheveled. Is he the father because he had an affair with his mom, or did he run in there after killing her husband and then rape her?
That's a very good question because we don't know. As I said, her expression, leaning in the doorway, you see, and she's smiling. Then she's crying. Then she's smiling. So I don't know. Was Mom just this free spirit? I know, sowed destruction everywhere she went. I don't know. And that's a very good question because certainly his reaction to the brother is as if he had an affair with the mother.
Yes.
And here she had this baby that he could never be a part of the child's life.
Right. Because after all, the father was a friend until he murdered him.
Until he murdered him, you bet. Well, you have to get some people out of the way. But the relationship, as we're going to see it unfold, is this, okay, you're here, you will now become a part of my family, of my life and everything else because you are my blood.
Okay, except, and this I find very confusing because the father will say, this party is for you and all of that. But if I understand correctly, he has not yet been told that he is the man's son.
Correct. And
so why is he throwing the party?
Yeah, he's also,
what does he think
even
the party's
also says that to Franco Nero.
Right.
So, maybe it's just any excuse for a good old time, I guess, would be the way to look at it. But yes.
And of course, as we're talking about Mickey Knox, and I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with his work, but what he did that was remarkable was to take movies where characters are speaking in all different languages and do a script in English that would match up with the lip movements, which we call counting flaps. That's where you count the number of times a mouth opens and closes, and that's the number of syllables that you have to create dialogue with. And you can imagine with people speaking all different languages on set, working with a scratch track, that it's an amazing feat. And it could be that in the European version, maybe he had already told him that he was his father, and that just didn't get translated through.
I think that's probably a very good point because as we hear the English dialogue, it in some cases certainly the motivation for things doesn't exactly match up to what we're seeing visually.
Yes.
And again, this is also just a byproduct of the way these movies were made, and certainly the way that they came to us in the United States. If they weren't through a major distributor, it was just catch as catch can. And here comes, there's nothing, you can't have a party without a brawl.
Right. And this guy's character I find very interesting and also very familiar to American films because there he's the foreman. He's the right hand of Cisco Delgado, and I think is expecting to be sort of the son that he doesn't have.
Charlton Heston in The Big Country.
Exactly. And then he gets a son, and what do?
Of course, here it is listen, we're actually related in a way. Mm-hmm. So you should come and join me. And it was Franco Nero. And this part I appreciate very much is that he is not there just to shoot him, which he could do.
Right. He's had plenty of opportunity for that.
He wants to take him back to Texas and to
try him
and face a judge and jury. And that's unusual as well. That's his mission is, if you will, clean in that sense. It's not just blood-soaked revenge.
Which is very unusual in any kind of a Western, because, of course, one of the, I think, great emotional appeals to an audience about Westerns is instant revenge.
Yes.
That you don't have to go through the law. You don't have to go through protracted trials and all. You know, this is when men were men kind of a thing. And here's another pretty nice fight.
And what I like about this fight is from Nero, this is really this rage that he is feeling, and it's just bubbling forth. He attacks him as if he was his father, that if he's had enough of so many years of abuse and he finally springs on him. And you see that in his face, and I think that's very well done. Now, breaking up this party because he's upset, and he's actually, here we have a bad guy who's actually trying to create or recreate a family.
Yes.
So that's also an entirely different motivation than I'm going to buy up all the ranches. I am taking over the gold mine. I'm doing all of those things, which he's probably doing anyway.
Right.
But all of the motivations here between these three characters has only to do with family. It has to do with mother and father and brothers, and that's it.
Right. Which is, as you say, very unusual in any kind of a Western.
Yes. Now, I think to the dubbing problem, here you go. Yes. It's, we do have the problem here with the young brother, because suddenly, wait a minute, he was dancing with the girls, he was having this time, and now suddenly he's resenting this man and calling him a killer.
Now, is he calling him a killer because of what happened at the party, or because he knows what happened to his father?
Yes, it's a little bit of a soupy, and this is also very nice. And I'm sure if Joshua Logan saw these dailies, he would be having a fit and falling in it.
That's not how I want Lancelot to look.
Exactly. Rolling around on the ground.
And here's our friend back again.
And of course, he is the fellow who executes the orders even when he doesn't want to. And he has that very wonderful moment with Suarez, or we saw earlier, that beautiful split diopter shot, where you actually suddenly you're going, wait a minute, this guy's a bad guy, but he's a bad guy because he's following these orders. And of course, he loves to laugh and be sadistic. But if he was given a choice, what else would he be doing? Or is he any less honorable than any other bandit in Mexico?
Right. He is, oddly enough, a sadist with a conscience.
Yes. Which
you don't run into often.
No, you don't. And Now this, I love the photography, and they see these pools of light around the candles, just absolutely wonderful. And I believe I wanted to just check on this. Yes, he did. Barboni also shot a wonderful Barbara Steele movie, Nightmare Castle,
Yes.
that is just stunning.
Is
in
that
its
black and
visual.
white?
Yes.
Sorry.
And it's just tremendous. And he just had such a wonderful eye, as Mario Bava, of course, would be someone who, coming from the world of photography. And
And you were saying about how beautiful this particular scene is, and it is beautifully lit. And at this time, most American westerns, this kind of a scene would just be flat bounce lighting.
that's true.
This is so much more care is taken in this case as they go in and out of shadow. And
Well, it was the approach, of course, of the filmmakers. Even as an older person, John Ford, for example, if you look at the work that Bill Clothier did for him in Cheyenne Autumn, it is just painterly,
Oh,
as
yes.
opposed to a lot of the other movies, frankly, that Clothier did for other directors that, are very nice, but
you
just
can see everything.
You can see everything, yes, and it's very much that kind of Gunsmoke look. And this goes very much against that. This is there's beautiful Rembrandt colors and the sense of care that is taken. And of course, this is a wonderful visual contrast to this violence that we've just had with this fight. And there is actually a little bit of blood coming out of the corner of his mouth.
Yes, and of course, as we were saying, not to be unkind to American filmmakers, that they had the problems of a limited shooting schedule and having to deal with audio.
Yes.
These movies had the advantage of they just had to worry about the visuals, and that gave them so much more freedom to just grab the camera and move it and do another setup and play with the lights some more.
But of course, this also was shot at a studio, and was,
Cinecita, presumably.
yeah, and not just kind of the running gun that you saw with some Euro westerns that were done very cheaply and very quickly,
Right.
for a sense of, if you will, visual elegance that I think impacted. These guys go into a theater and they see even a kind of an ordinary Western, like, say, The Big Land with Alan Ladd, the Gordon Douglas film, but they're going to see, if you will, photography and kind of an expertise in presentation. And I think that they very much wanted to try and emulate. The sense of composition here, again, is just beautiful with that table in the foreground. Now here, the music box, and we're seeing, if you will, these kind of moments and these trinkets that are significant to the past. And here is the cameo. So this, to me, is for a few dollars more,
Yes.
with the watch, with the photograph inside,
And certainly this speaks to the idea that it was a secret romance rather than a rape after killing her husband.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And even if her reaction as she comes out of the doorway is a little confusing, but it's the reaction here. At least they try and clean up, I think, a little bit of the relationship and make it a little clearer. And of course, he moves so well. Again, all of his athleticism and the way he confronts. This is a wonderful reaction. And you think he's going to pull the trigger. I love that shot.
Oh. And this, yes. And ending with that beautiful, almost church shot there.
Yes. And the familial relationship, as we said, is not only is it uncommon, it tends to not even be very often in the foreground of a lot of Euro Westerns. And we can get some sense of motivation from our bad guys, like we said, something like For a Few Dollars More. But it is not something that directly involves our hero, our central characters. They're usually like, okay, that's your problem. My problem is killing you.
Right.
And this throws all of that away. And this sequence by the river, this is very well done. Of course, here's all the folks from the town who want to confront our landowner,
right,
and take ownership of their town,
lives,
of their lands and their town. Take it back. This is wonderful. This is a pivotal moment here again for Franco Nero's character. Is he going to side with these guys or not? And the thing is, he is there on his own mission. It's not, he does not care about this town.
No. But sometimes it takes a village.
Yes, to defeat a baddie.
Yes.
And also, too, remember, as we said, now he is a Texas lawman, but in Mexico.
Right. No authority.
No authority, exactly.
Which is, actually, it's interesting that they never make that point. Because
No,
in
they
an
never
American
do.
Western, there would always be the point, someone would say, you know, we don't care that you're a lawman where you're from. That means nothing here.
That's right. And that never comes up at all.
Yeah.
And with Franco Nero here, I was that wonderful in that interview with him. I always think about that in this scene when John Wayne told him, "Be careful about the size of your horse."
Yes.
Because you don't want the
You want a big
audience
horse
looking
or a
at the
little horse?
That's right.
Yes, you want to, what was it? You don't want a horse that's too large because...
That's right, because in the audience. And then, of course, that's the exact opposite. Remember Steve McQueen's reaction to Yul Brynner, because on Magnificent Seven, Brenner had the horse that everybody was looking at, and Steve would go, well, wait a minute, the guy's got the horse that everybody's going to be looking at, so they're going to be looking at him. This is a very, very well photographed scene. And I think, too, maybe people don't always quite get how difficult it is to get hard shadows. And
especially in daylight.
especially in daylight. That takes real skill. So there were bounce boards, there were all of these things just to cut off that kind of little kind of gray ghosting sometimes that you would get. And which also means that it takes time, and that they actually had a little bit of, at least a little bit of a budget to be able to do this properly.
Because how long did Nero say this took to film? Was it a couple of months?
Yes.
Does that sound right? Yes.
But of course, shooting schedules also tended to be a little liquid, and sometimes people would leave in the middle and go do something else and come back, and it was all very, I don't want to say casual, but set up in a slightly different way than we would be used to.
Right.
With a 5 to 6 solid weeks, and it was 6 days a week and 1 day off and all of that
And
stuff.
after this hour, you got paid time and a half.
That's right.
There was
yes.
not that kind of a structure.
You know, I was when Eastwood, of course, always said he was so surprised when they were doing a Fistful of Dollars that they had this incredibly large beautifully lunch and pasta and wine and everything. And everybody took a nap afterwards. And he was like, well, okay.
And that was just a beautiful set.
It's gorgeous.
Oh.
And she comes to the rescue. Mm-hmm. So we actually make use of this character, and which is good, but it is I think it is a tad flimsy.
Because we don't really know enough about her to know why she'd...
No, and it's
Kill
just
her.
they're two very good-looking young people, and obviously think each other is attractive. So I guess that's motivation enough.
But it is funny that before she gets on the wagon, he's making eyes at the other beautiful girl that's
Oh
sitting in there.
yes, no, he was.
just
Jim
looking
was
for a
getting
brunette.
around pretty good. Yes, he was. And of course, we also have the echoes of the poor saloon girl who helped him, and we know what happened to her.
Well, she got that $1 at least.
Yes, she did before they tortured and killed her.
Killed her, yeah.
And that's a beautiful location.
Yes, I was going to say that has to be a location, not a
Yes.
set. Then.
Yeah.
Well,
This is a really lovely confrontation, and once again, okay, let's see what happens to any woman who's going to try and help him. And guess what? Here we
Nothing
go.
good.
So this is just what it really is unusual that even when we think in the context of just a male-driven genre and all the rest of it, I'm sorry, the female characters generally have a lot more to do than they do in this one.
Oh, yes. We have two women who come in, do something heroic, and get killed.
Yep, and that's
it.
it. That is it. And it's a strange, again, mix of all of these elements as we're returning to the son who is disenchanted with his father's actions, and he just found out about his dad. And he would sit there and he was screaming and yelling at these bandits. And now he's just killed this woman who helped him.
Right.
And he seems to be taking that pretty well. He's a little
Yeah.
annoyed, but
Yeah, he's sort of too cool for his own good.
I know you would think that would be the explosion point, but nope. So it's that's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Well, I guess maybe women just weren't that important to these characters.
I guess not. But I think it is, unfortunately, a missing element
Yes.
for the film. This is a beautiful, beautiful shot. This is very reminiscent. We had mentioned the Big Country earlier, and the ride, Charlie Bickford's men into Burlive's stronghold. And there's also here, I think, worth noting the number of riders, horses, extras in this film is pretty significant.
It is indeed.
And I think they knew it, so let's really show. That's a gorgeous shot.
Yes.
Let's really show that we've got a lot of guys. We can fill this screen with them.
And of course, that was always the key to figuring out, watching an American Western, how much money they had was how many people on horses were in one shot.
Well, of course, that's why David Selznick insisted on so many in Duel in the Sun, because he wanted more than anybody had ever had. So, Yep.
Should have insisted on a plot, but you can't have everything.
You can't have everything. Yes, he had Jennifer Jones.
And so here comes the lawman back to join these fellas.
And he has finally made something like a choice. And Franco's kind of wearing his hat a little more jauntily in this scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true. It's not covering his eyes, and he's admitted that he has blue eyes, so there's no
Yes.
sense hiding them anymore. But what I find fascinating about this sequence is that that here the good guys, because these are the good guys, do what bad guys do. They ambush a bunch of unsuspecting people riding through a canyon. I mean, it's right out of the Lone Ranger.
Oh, yes.
But the Lone Ranger, if if the bad guys were the good guys, because this is really considered a dirty tactic under normal circumstances.
Oh, good Lord, yes. And
And here are the innocent bad guys.
here are the innocent bad guys. And yes, it makes us think of great John Wayne's refusal to shoot Bill McKinney in the back in The Shootist.
Right.
Good Lord, he'd have a fit and fall in it. Asked him to do something like this. And it is truly a massacre, which of course makes sense. That's exactly what you would do. This is really a war strategy. It's a battle tactic.
That's true. It is very much, this sequence is a war sequence rather than you think of a normal Western gunfighting sequence.
Yes. No, that kind of goes, I think, out the window, but it is also appropriate for this because it is the villagers taking back their town. Now, what is interesting here is these are the men of our bad guy. These are not federales.
Right. No, yeah, these are all his soldiers.
His soldiers, right. So we have the other soldiers to contend with eventually. I guess that would be in Montana, Adios, but here we go. This scene probably has more Italian gunshots in it than it is, like more gunshots than the Battle of Bloody Porch, but it just it's that great Italian echo.
Yes.
Yes. And again, bloodless. Not even in peplums. You would get somebody getting an arrow in their eye or something, and gore shooting out, or in Goliath versus the vampires or whatever. And these are the movies that these very same people made.
Right. And the very same audiences were
Same
watching.
audience, exactly. Very often the money coming from the same place. But again, here it is. Let's fall on the ground. See, even all these guys in white shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely
Not a drop of blood.
not a drop of blood on any of them. Good luck to you.
Yes. My
Yes.
friend.
As he rides off.
Kimosabe. Yeah, that ricochet sound.
That ricochet, yes. And they seem to have missed a couple of them, but they got a whole hell of a lot of others.
I would say it was a pretty good slaughter myself.
Yes.
And, well, are you looking at him or the horse?
Now, this music and the way this is done, it's not really, if you will, from the American perspective, because they always had this tendency to do that final ride, that
Triumphant. Sort of.
triumphant. Yes, that's the word to use. Before the big conflagration, we've already had kind of the mid-range conflagration with wiping out all these characters that we didn't know, and now we're going to attack the characters we do know.
Always separating out the lead guy that our hero has to be able to kill.
And so he's got to get rid of all those guys. This has got some very nice work in it.
Very nice.
Yes. And
Again, great framing.
yes,
Ow.
what this reminds me of, and we were talking about the Magnificent Seven, is that magnificent traveling shot with McQueen going all the way through, shooting at the guys. And we see how athletic he was, and we see how athletic Franco Nero is, just kind of going from spot to spot to spot, turning around, shooting, rolling, coming up, shooting. And now we're back here to this beautiful painterly interior in front of that organ. And it is, as you said, it is, this hacienda is like a church. In fact, they frame things as if we were in a church. Like you said, in the moment in the barn, you had the archways and everything else.
And
here,
the organ.
We've got the organ, and we've got... And I'm sure very intentional, because, of course, this was made in a Catholic country by primarily Catholic filmmakers.
Right.
Okay, there goes the brother.
Right. Killed by the guy who thought he was going to be the son.
That's right.
Yes. And it's nice that but he doesn't have any speeches about it. The story is just told well enough that you understand that.
Yes.
Oh. And how often do you see the hero shoot the wounded guy lying on his back? Although it does bring to mind John Wayne and the Searchers and
yes,
mangling the bodies of dead people.
Right. What did that get you? Well, in this case, I think this was kind of the inevitable, what was going to happen if Franco found his father, or I should say, almost stepfather.
Right.
And there is finally a little bit of blood on the shirt.
Well, when you withhold things like that, just like when you withhold the blue eyes, they should have more effect when you do get them.
Yes.
The only problem is we are now so used to blood in movies that it doesn't stand out the way it would have at the time. And if we want to talk religious, that's practically the Pieta there.
Absolutely it is. And this is a great moment, because finally all the sins from the past, the sins of the present, everything is now compounded to this point. So this is, what is this character going to do? And it isn't what we expect.
I know, it's just so much better than what you expect.
Yes, it really is. And just another really nice twist. And, of course, we're getting a very classic confrontation moment. And one-on-one.
No one else to interfere now.
Nope. He's taking care of all the guys. And instead, yes, let's go. We're going to Texas.
È arrivata la tua ora, Cisco. Verrai con me nel Texas.
He is not stepping away from his mission.
Right. Both as a son and as a lawman.
Yep. But Dad is not going to go.
He probably has an inkling of how that trial might go.
Yes.
So he's got certainly nothing to lose by fighting it out.
Again, these images, of course, we had mentioned A Minute to Pray, A Second to Die earlier. He really, here to me, really does resemble Robert Ryan, and I'm sure that's intentional. Despite the frilly cuffs.
Right. And of course, we have seen him in the flashback as much more of how we think of Robert Ryan.
Yes. And there goes the corrupt lawyer. Yes.
Fermati.
Gotta say, this is a tough, strong guy. He does not drop when he's hit.
And there we go. Finally, as you said, the impact would be actually seeing the bullet strikes, seeing the wounds, and we do.
Yeah.
But it's all saved for this ending. Ultimately, yet another twist on.
Verrai con me nel Texas.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is kind of fascinating. They're going, well, how is this? Is this satisfactory for the audience? Because the fact is, Franco Nero fails at his task.
Well, does he?
I mean, he gets his revenge,
well-
but he doesn't.
Well, I don't know.
There's no trial.
You know, in this shot, is he dead or is he just going to?
No,
be
he's
a
taking
terrible-
the corpse back. So this to me reminds me of the Naked Spur.
Yes. Is that a beautiful closing shot?
Beautiful.
Oh, Lord.
So there we are, Texas Adios.
Please.
A very unusual movie, and one that has been a little bit lost in the shuffle. So this is was really terrific, I think, to hopefully bring it out. And it looks absolutely stunning, and there's just a lot here to see and enjoy, I think.
There is. There are so many ways that it varies from so many of the films of this whole genre and of this particular time. It really is great to have another chance to reappreciate it.
You bet. Well, and thank you, Henry, very much for sitting and
Well, thank you, Court.
yakking as we always do.
do.
And see what I believe we have Fiend coming up here.
And we have seen the movie, and it is fine.